Why hello there viewer, and welcome to the 5th Q&A review. At least I think it is the 5th Q&A review. You may notice that this video is going up a few days earlier than the Q&As review usually do. That is because I never liked having to upload the video a few days before the next Q&A. So I found it I found it possible to set aside some time much earlier on in the week to do the review, and I hope to continue doing that. Last review was when the dev blog was released, actually I think it was during the Q&A, the dev blog, that caused a lot of controversy about the not implementing of the sandstone because of integrity issues, even though it passed. That drama did not materialize during last week's Q&A, even though the dev blog was already out. It was released around the same time or something like that, so they didn't really touch on it. I hope they do touch on it this Q&A. But just right off the bat, new mod, that's cool. I'm pretty sure this is a bunch of RS3 in the background, and I really don't like that. RS3 has left a bad taste in my mouth. I think this is like a RS3 Rune Fullhelm, RS3 whatever this is, RS3 everything. I don't like that. I hope they're... I don't know why they're putting RS3 everywhere. I don't like it, but let us begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. Hope you're having a wonderful week. I'm your host Mod Gambit, and this...
Oh, just real quick, I think this is the highest quality. It's... no, okay, that's better. Alright, make this faster too.
This week I'm joined on the couch by Mod Kieran.
You alright?
Mod Ash.
Hello.
Mod West.
Hey.
And on the end there we have a new face, which is Mod Acorn. Say hello everybody.
Hello.
So, as there's a new face, we'll start with you, Acorn. Welcome, first of all, to the team.
This is your initiation now.
Yeah.
You got the hardest maths questions of history.
So I guess we'll start with your role. So what are you going to do for us on the Old School team?
Right, so I'm going to be the new Old School Community Manager. So,
Ooh.
Hi everyone. What I'll be doing is working with Mod Gambit on things like the blogs, the posts, engaging with the community, talking to you guys, posting on Reddit, I'd imagine, any social media, and taking in ideas that you guys have, feeding them back to devs, and then bringing that back to you guys.
Awesome. What did you do before?
Yeah, so I'm not new. I assume most of you may have already realised that. I used to work in the anti-cheating team. That was banning bots and real trading, things like that. So I've moved over now to community management, and I was doing that for about a year and a half now.
Great. I know it's lots of Monka S in the chat now that you mentioned anti-cheating. We're not now down an anti-cheating specialist, are we? You have been sort of filled in for...
Replaced.
On that team, so...
Yes, so my position has been filled.
Okay, excellent, good. So don't start botting, guys, we are still watching. What's your history with Old School then? Have you been playing long?
Yeah, so I've been playing RuneScape since 2005. So I've been playing for quite a long time, pretty much on religiously, almost every day. I do play Old School every night, most likely every night if you see me. So yeah, quite well versed, I'd imagine.
And you got a rune fest and everything before you were a J-Mod, so...
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favourite content in game then? What do you spend most of the time doing when you play?
So right now, the most of the time I do is farming contracts. I hate to say that I'm addicted to them, but there's times where I just log in and stare at the herb patch that I had to plant and wait for it to grow.
That's not how farming works.
But I do love it. It's probably one of the best things I've had to do recently, and normally farming's a grind, but it just makes it really fun.
That's great. Yeah, nice.
Can I drop them in on your secret about your account and how limited it is?
If you want to, you can go ahead.
Mod Acorn has chosen to do a 10 HP skiller, and hence is
Ooh.
unable to participate in a lot of content.
A skiller, let's go.
Well, I do raids as a 10 HP skiller, so I might not be the best in it, but I do try.
If you ever don't shoot,
I'm sure you
thank
contribute
you.
massively to
I'm
Tom. Leech it.
Get that RS3 off the screen.
Okay, so we'll hit you with the usual newbie question, which is, if you could change anything about the game unpolled, what would you change?
Clan system, hands down. There's so many times where I want to be in two different chats at the same time, and I want to talk to people, but then I have to go, if I want to go do something with clan elsewhere, or I want to do something with friends, I can't do it at the same time, like talking wise. So I'd definitely change clan system if I could.
Sure, I reckon a lot of the players agree with you.
I reckon a lot of us agree with
what's not to like?
For sure. Cool, so
Then do it.
in chat, it's !new mod, I believe, will take you to Mod Acorn's Twitter. In case it doesn't, it's jagex acorn. There's your free plug.
Thanks.
And I guess the last thing we want to ask you is, what are you looking forward to most update-wise this year?
In 2019,
I'd pull results.
I'd probably have to say warding. I know that there's some hesitation around it, but I'm quite looking forward to it after having numerous conversations with Mod West about warding. I'd say that it's looking really exciting for me, especially with my limited account, but also just it sounds really fun, and I'm really excited to work on that project with Mod Sween and yourself to then deliver that news to the players, hopefully in the future.
It's worth noting, obviously, right now, all you guys have is basically what you announced at RuneFest. We have more information than that, and it's going to be coming, obviously, over the course of the coming months, so we'll get information to you so that you can actually start to realise what's the potential of this skill and what can we do with it.
Though while we have West here, would you like to tease anything?
So
like what you teased to me earlier?
Oh, what I teased you earlier? I can't remember what I teased you earlier.
Well, I can't really tell without teasing myself.
The robes.
Oh, the robes. Oh, right, yeah. So something that players have been wanting for quite some time now are the Dagon High robes. So this seems like a perfect opportunity for warding. Like, I mean, the magic robes, that's sort of fitting, it's sort of a perfect opportunity, really. So yeah, that'd be cool. And many other opportunities for other high-level robes as well. So yeah, I'm sort of doing that at the moment, just sort of going through some sort of more high-level content for warding itself, because I think the main concern for warding was it was very low-level sort of pitch with not much information about the high-end rewards. So yeah, sort of just going over that now and sort of sifting through all the feedback, and yeah, it's good. It's good.
Also, I just want to shout out the guy who just before we went live said, "Give us West," and it's a 1-2 you have to be on.
Kind of rare place nowadays, so yeah, quite fortunate.
We need to change that.
Yeah, well, it's because I leave a bit earlier now, so it's sort of a bit awkward to always come in every week. But
So if we were to reschedule the 5 o'clock stream for like 4:30, so you could get more West, maybe you'd find it worth it.
that'd be great.
If you go to West, you end up on there.
Yep.
Great.
I'm always on there.
Don't want to end up on Zaya.
So yeah, we look forward to seeing what both yourself, West, and Acorn produce with warding and hearing more about it. So for the time being, I'm going to thank you, Mod Acorn, for your time. I'm going to bring in a super sub, which is, well, you'll see in a second. But yeah, no, great meeting you, and we look forward to seeing what you get
No,
up to.
don't
Thank
go
you.
away.
See you guys.
Why did they bring these new mods on just to kick them off the
Now
sofa?
we have the notorious 30-second cringe period of switching out
I
of
will try and fill the awkward gap and welcome Mod Bruno to the couch. So yeah, again, it's ! new mod to follow what Mod Acorn gets up to. At jagex acorn is the Twitter handle.
You know, just real quick, I think it'd be interesting if one time they had on the sofa, including the person doing the questions, all of the newer mods. I think that'd be interesting. Just to get their opinions on things, not necessarily say one thing or the other about the future of the game.
So I'm going to go through the usual announcements. It's ! membership to check out our Premier Club package, which is our best value membership package.
Save
And we
negative
have
2
the
cents.
Razer Phone 2 and 6 months membership competition still going on. It's Win Razer. And other announcements. So the big one, I guess, is Friday, which happens to be our 6th.
There's a Friday this week.
There is a Friday this week.
My favourite day.
And on that Friday, Old School turns 6 years old, which is obviously excellent. ! Birthday to find out what we're going to be up to.
I believe the 5th birthday was a year ago. That stream was
I can't believe a year took a year. Oh.
shorter than that.
What's freaky is there's a slice of cake in the kitchen on this floor with what looks like a candle in the shape of a 5 on it, and I really hope it is not that cake that's been lying around since.
Yeah, that would not be good.
Fingers crossed. So yeah, we're going to be doing a special 2-hour stream on Friday. I think the details for that are shown when you do ! Birthday.
I can't believe it's been 6 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, it does
Honestly.
feel like a long time.
Not in the scale of RuneScape's longevity.
No, this is true. Still relatively
I think
young,
Heard
but
of it.
The thing I like about it is that it was 6 years from 2007, like our archive point, to 2013 when Old School came out. And take another 6 years beyond that. It's really nice to know that there's now as much as, 6 years of my work in Old School, like there's those 6 years in the other game. I like equaling it.
yeah.
Also, as Modrock pointed out earlier, that if you take out the number of extra call fixes we've done, we're now up to our 300th release, which equates to 50 a year, which is mad.
It's a lot of work.
And that's taken out the weeks before Christmas. You see, okay, we've pretty much got one every single week.
I mean, it's safe to say at this point, sort of Old School's no longer in its infancy. It's sort of mature as a game at this point. I mean, 6 years is quite a long time for any game to be around and successful still. So, quite an
Anyway,
achievement.
we can pour over the nostalgia on Friday.
Berate us.
Yeah, well, that's happening on Friday. We'll be doing it for 2 hours. And you can expect all sorts of things on that, like a data stream from Mod Nasty, our product analyst, and all sorts of other things. Right, in the meantime, we're going to announce Deadman, there's some information for you here. I know you guys have been waiting a long time for it, so I'll just get this out to you. The spring finals are confirmed to be running from Saturday, March the 23rd, for a week until March the 30th, with the summer season launching once the finals end as usual. Unfortunately, because of the situation between ourselves and the venue, we're not going to be able to have a live audience at the time. But you can expect more updates on the content and things that are going to be involved in the season as soon as possible. But yeah, we just wanted to give you that announcement. Right, so we'll move on to other things that are happening this week. I'd like to show off something that was suggested to us by Gentle Tractor, which we're going to be including in the qual poll for this week, I believe. If we can bring that up, that would be awesome. So what do we make of this, guys?
That's pretty cool.
I think it's a good idea. I don't see any reason not to put it in the game.
Yeah, I like it.
I think we all like it.
So what are we looking at here exactly? Ash, would you care to explain?
That is the quest side panel, the diary side panel, the minigame grouping side panel. Thanks for bringing it back again. And that's my face. Currently, the one side panel slot is used for lots of different side panels with little buttons to switch between them. And on mobile, there's some arrows that go from side to side to scroll through them, but nobody's very fond of those. Mr. Tractor, or Ms. Tractor, I've never been entirely sure, has designed this way of doing it with tabs. For what it's worth, they're separate interfaces and they're going to have to stay separate interfaces. So when you switch between them, it's not going to be as lag-free as when you switch between your bank tabs or tabs on other interfaces we've got. But it won't get any slower than switching between them currently is. And we think it will be something that will help you very much. So we'd like to offer that. The raiding party one's a slightly unusual addition to that, in that that's really only relevant if you're raiding. And having that tab be there all the time when you're not raiding might be kind of gratuitous and unhelpful. So we might not have that one hanging around when you're not in Chambers of Xeric.
But if you are there, would we potentially add it as that fifth tab in that style?
That seems to be the popular approach for it. I mean, taking away your access to your quest lists is not of interest to us. It's not like you're in the Chambers of Xeric, you can't see your quest list. You might read something about sheep herder and it might put you off your olm. No, we're very happy to let you have that information in there. Obviously the minigame teleports won't be getting you out of the Chambers of Xeric, just as they don't teleport you out of any other instances either. But we're fine with you having access to it in there.
Sure.
We just took away the side panel because we wanted to use it for the other thing.
I think we concluded we wouldn't necessarily want a character summary in the same tab, just to avoid things getting too cramped in there. That might be better placed in something like the account management tab. But while we sort of explore the options, I think we're going with that first option on the left to poll, and then sort of explore from there what the best way to go about it is.
I wouldn't have been sorry if the account summaries were the 6th tab, to be honest. But that might be a bigger change than we're looking to make right now.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can clarify exactly what was written into the poll, if it wasn't all the pictures that they're being shown at the moment.
I believe we will be showing off that picture on the left, and the question is going to be worded, should the quest tab be changed to a tab system as shown here, or something similar? I think with the proviso that, yeah, we could add other things if and when there is demand.
I know everyone wants 3 because they love the character summary, but it is worth noting that obviously we can add that later, but that's an additional job that's going to take a non-insignificant amount of time to actually develop on top of that.
And yet, you've shown them the picture now. Surely that was something you had on the table.
It's totally on the table, like we say, but I think, to make sure there was going to be space for other stuff this qual week, we wanted to offer the one on the left at the time being, which we know we can do.
And once we've got a tab system like that, we can add another one easily at a later date.
Sure. So I'm going to move on to this week's update and what players can expect. Bruno, would you care to summarise what we've got?
So yeah, this week we're releasing the changes with auto-casting as well as remembering what combat style you're using. So if a weapon has a different category and you've got multiple weapons, so for example you got two-handed sword and you got a mace, if you select that two-handed sword to slash and give you strength XP, and then you change to a mace and decide, actually I want to train in defense, so you switch it to defense, and then you switch back to the two-handed sword, it will, instead of saving you at the defense mode, it'll just go back to what it used to be. This also works with the auto-casting, so if you're doing something which requires you to, ice barrage, and you're constantly switching weapons, then when you equip your wand, you'll be already ice barraging, which is quite nice.
Yeah, very handy.
Very nice.
Can you clarify which areas it does and doesn't work in?
Yeah, the regular weapons work everywhere, however the auto-casting only works in safe areas like non-PvP areas, so if you go in the wilderness, that won't work as polled.
Excellent.
I know I've said this probably in the past 2 Q&As, but I don't really like how certain combat features do or like arbitrarily or seem to arbitrarily work in non-PvP, but then for some reason don't work in PvP. I'd rather it just not work overall, even if it's more convenient in non-PvP situations, because then you have people who are used to the conveniences of non-PvP. So when if they look or when they try to go into the wilderness to do something that's non-PvP related, but of course or if they want to get into PvP, it's even harder and more frustrating because you have to get used to a different system of mechanics.
I know we're also doing the rest of the combat and skilling week qual changes.
Yep.
I think one of the other big ones I would say is the auto processes. Do you want to say what we've got?
Yeah, so we're optimizing a lot of the things that people don't like to do, like cracking coconuts, filling water cans, that sort of stuff. And we're also doing a very useful thing, which is automating the enchant jewelry spells. So if you're enchanting like 27 ruby rings, because the Ring of Fortune will also be free to play as of this update. So if you're enchanting 27 rings, you'd have to click every single one of them at the same time, or continuously. You can just click one. And although it's slower, it will do them all as you go on.
I think I've also commented on this in the past, but I guess 2 points. One point is making people do things they don't want to do. Like, just because it's boring or monotonous or whatever, it's like, you don't want to pride your game on that, but it's still part of, it's not really, I'm not as opposed to this kind of update, especially because if you did it manually, then you'll get it faster, which was going to be my second point, but it's kind of like, you know, if it were any other game, this is a perfectly reasonable update, but it's old school RuneScape, and so is it really worth diluting the old school way of doing things in order to make it more convenient? Maybe, maybe not. I'm open to it either way.
Much like every Herblore, for example, which does it all.
So if you once you've got the process going by using the items once, it'll either you can carry on using them manually as fast as you can click, for those of you who are really good at clicking fast. But if you don't mind it going a fair bit slower, and we really do mean a fair bit slower, you can just let it keep running at its own pace, and it will do the rest for you. So this means you don't get a faster XP method or a faster process coming into the game, but because if you're going still manually clicking, it's pretty much
okay. So is this would this update affect XP? Because this is an issue I also have repeatedly addressed, which is the JMods are like, yeah, you don't get more XP, so it's all good, and it's much slower if you don't put in nearly as much effort. But the problem is now, if you invent a method that is low effort but sufficiently efficient, or gives sufficient XP, that's still damaging to the integrity of skilling, because the meta is not what's most important. What's most important is the effective meta. For example, 99, I would assume, maybe like 95 at the lowest, even at high-level players who don't use alt accounts, who aren't killing Zola while training their mains, do RD Roof, or just do rooftop courses in general to train agility. Now, rooftop courses, especially RD Roof, is not the most efficient agility train method, whether macro efficiently or just highest XP, whether below or above 99. RD Roof is not the most efficient course, unless you want to talk about profit, but it's still not the most efficient course at all. However, because of the relatively low amount of effort you have to put into it, combined with the high amount of XP, and then depending on the player's needs, also the profit, it is essentially the effective meta, and it's very important that the effective meta is factored in to skilling methods when it comes to balancing.
not changed. That's been done for, like Bruno says, the watering cans, smashing coconuts, putting the coconut milk in a vial, I think.
Those are most of it, yeah.
Oh, and Serum 207.
Those as well.
Yes.
There's 3 processors for that one that didn't have a make X on them. One of them did have a make X, and we've left that one completely alone because it didn't need anything doing there.
Excellent. So all of that is coming in addition to the 6th birthday event. I don't know if you want to give a very brief teaser about what that might involve.
Sure. It's just a little event to celebrate the 6th birthday and give you an opportunity to get a reward and, of course, unlock all the previous birthday rewards, because we do have to offer those, including the Gangnam Style dance, I think it is.
Pretty kind
Oh,
of
dear.
demonstrate.
I'm afraid I don't quite remember. You made the 4th birthday event, so I think that is your content.
Tables have turned.
Certainly cannot.
Ask the animator.
It would look too much like twerking if I
I
tried.
mean, in all honesty, an artist had to be the one who put the animation together. So
It seems unlikely we're going to have a volunteer.
Right, so, anywho, you know, in the Falador party room, there's a museum of big updates through the ages. Mod West has kindly added the 6th bay in there with the big updates from the last 12 months. Hint, there's my arms down there, and with his wife. And in the kind of gallery overlooking that section, there is a little disco party section where the familiar faces from the older parts of the game have come to celebrate the birthday. So if you want to see the wise old man rocking out, he's down there, trying to outdo the Duke of Lumbridge. It's kind of even there. And as befits a birthday party, it's the oldest and most, I suppose, notorious quest would be Cook's Assistant. So the Lumbridge chef has also turned up down there, and he would like a little assistance catering this party because he never can cater a party. It's a little tribute to our oldest quest there to get you your rewards. You can start this event tomorrow after the update, which is due about 11:30 in the morning, by going to the museum under Falador party room and talking to the cook there. Don't talk to him in Lumbridge, it won't help.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Ash. So I'm going to move on to the questions that we have this week, the first of which comes from Busy. They ask, when are we going to see the Hosidius rework that Mod West flashed back in October? Well, it's funny that you ask because we have Mod West here with us.
Perfect.
I do want to pause it real quick to say that when I was attempting to submit my questions that I mentioned in my last review that I wanted them to answer that I thought were of pretty high quality, I couldn't find a Reddit thread or a Twitter comment or Twitter post where I could reply with my questions, so very unfortunate. I did not expect them to show up in this Q&A. I guess they weren't interested in getting questions. Oh well, whatever.
We are expecting to do that. It's scheduled for mid to late March, I believe, is when we penciled it in.
That's the aim.
And I think, if we ask very nicely, Mod West might be able to demonstrate what it currently looks like.
I have something very pretty to show, so I'm going to head over to the sofa, off the sofa to the. I'm going to start talking as well. Yeah, cool.
Excellent.
It's always great when somebody says they've got something to show you and starts fiddling with their garment. Especially you said he flashed last year.
Yeah. So it's been through a few iterations, I believe, already, but hopefully this one is going to be the one I'm very excited for. I think it looks great. Filler. Right, I think Mod West is good to go. So we're going to swap over to you, and he'll show off what you can expect from the Hosidius rework.
Hi everyone, so as you can see here, we've got like a nice little GIF showing you Hosidius through the ages. So this starts back in release of January 2016, and it just shows all the changes that we've made over the years. And now I'm going to head into game and just sort of give a little tour around what I've been working on. So, as you may all know, this is the Zaya dock. I'm just going to slowly move into the new entrance area. So I've decided to...
I will just say real quick that it doesn't... I was under the impression that the rework of Zaya shrunk the continent, but I guess I was wrong. They just added more stuff in between, which is good, but Zaya's just like really... It's kind of like they locked themselves out of creating new places because they always have Zaya by... What's the word? What's the phrase I'm looking for? They always have filling out Zaya nagging them. So whenever they want to add like a new place, it's like, oh, but there's Zaya. And that's probably a consideration when they made Fossil Island. They're like, nah, we want to dedicate a whole place to this unique theme. But that came at the cost of leaving Zaya in the state it was. So, I guess that is my point. I didn't know where I was going to go with that.
To make this a bit grander, I've got some statues representing each of the houses of Koren, with a nice little character in each one of them. We've got a nice, a new little building here and a tower. You know, just some things to sort of make this area feel a little less empty. And I'm just going to head down this long road here into the castle area. So I'm just going to lift up a little bit. Unfortunately, I can't move much faster. This is the top speed I can go at, but anyway. Oh yeah, I'll talk about that. So these are I've sort of put these around the area a little bit, just to sort of mingle the different houses with each other. So the shades have set up some tents around the place, just sort of like a patrol, just to keep the area safe. As sort of a little bit of essentially police in this regard. I'm just going to keep going down this long road to the castle. But I can teleport, can't I? There we go. So yeah, just outside of the councillors' houses, we've got this new little park area. So down here we've got a nice little park and like a little memorial to, I don't know, some long dead king. We've got a nice little pond over there and a little camp for some wayfarers. These are musicians who are coming from the music guild, which is something that doesn't exist in game yet, but is something that we've been speaking about in hints here and there, so that's cool. Here are the new houses for the councillors. So previously the councillors were sort of just all over the place, but we wanted to sort of bring them all together and make it you know, make
Democracy
it
is a
make
lie.
the castle feel a bit more established in the world. And I've also lifted the castle up a little bit to give it a bit more of an imposing feel, as you can see with the various different layers here and over there as well. But this is mostly the same, it's just slightly higher with this wall around the outside. So now I'm going to head to the south, and this is going to take me past the mess, and the mess has had a severe reduction in size, and the entrances are slightly easier to get into as well. So I just go in there to remove the roof. As you can see, it's a bit cozier in there. You know, they're still demanding their food as they usually do, and the chefs are in there cooking. They're probably going to be walking quite strange because the content still isn't completely adapted to the rearrangement of most of these areas. So
just to comment on like the look of Zaya, it's maybe I would have to think more about how at least the Hosidius area looks as an aesthetic, but it looks kind of bland with a lot of color. I don't really like the look of, like, it doesn't look very old school. It looks it looks more RS3-ish, quite honestly, and I'm not sure how to articulate that, but that's just my impression. It doesn't seem very natural. Might be the correct way to phrase it. It looks, I guess here's my analogy. You know how when you talk to the house masters, or whatever they're called, the people that you need to talk to for the Architectural Alliance, when you talk to them, they're like, their character heads in the chat window are frozen, or their heads don't move. Their facial features do, but their heads don't move. It looks really creepy. That's my analogy to what Zaya looks like compared to like every other part of RuneScape.
We won't spend too long looking at that, just in case.
At least the Hosidius
house.
house.
Watson's house is still a thing, but it's had quite a bit of a makeover.
This looks normal. I like this.
Quite a bit more. You know, he's got some building, you know, rooms. You know, as you'd expect in a house, he's got like a diner, a kitchen, and he's even got like a bed as well, which I don't think he had before. So that's quite handy. Yeah, Watson never sleeps. He's too busy giving out all those Master Clue scrolls. So now I'm going to head over to the east a little bit. So this is where the Hosidius kitchen is, where you get your lovely boosts. And again, what I've been trying to do with all these buildings is trying to give them a unique feel. Because the main issue with Hosidius was lots of the buildings sort of felt copy and pasted. It was quite difficult to really tell where you were when you were walking around.
Yeah, I like this aesthetic he's showing off. Maybe it's the brick road that I really don't like about Zaya. I am not sure, but this looks a lot more like old school. It looks a little contrived, a little fake. Things look too symmetrical, but it looks a lot more like RuneScape.
So the idea here is to sort of give it its own sort of unique vibe. And, you know, just bring space between all the buildings as well and sort of give it that sort of old school feel. So now I'm going to head further.
Yeah, there we
east,
go.
and this will bring us into the sort of the new localized area of Hosidius. So what I've attempted to do here is take all the sort of important buildings and houses around, sort of just bring them all closer together. So we've got some lovely little greenhouses lying around here and there, and a nice little central area for the market. So these are where all the stores you'd expect to find. We've got the bank here, some other things just lying around. We've got the pub. Again, that's sort of the same shape and layout as the previous pub. It's just a little bit smaller, and it's got its own little orchard in the background for all the cider, and a nice little park to drink with all your friends, if that's what you want to do. And I mean, the rest of this town is fairly straightforward. We've got the estate agent. He's up here now. We've got the general store, and over here to the south we have Lord Hosidius' house. Again, that's got a fairly big upgrade. He's quite rich. It makes sense. And to the opposite there we have the church, which I've made it again look a bit more church-like. We've got a nice stained glass window, etc. The south of here, this is all pretty much the same as it used to be. So the plough fields, a little farmer's house. I think there's one of the master farmers. Oh, that's the chief farmer. The master farmers are in the town somewhere. Those are still thievable, and you can still lock them in buildings, so that should still be good. We've got the house portal, and being as there didn't really seem to be a point to have two churches almost like in shouting distance, I decided to turn this church into more of like a little forest camp for the monks to hang out in. And yeah, just this area in general is fairly similar. I just sort of added some more.
Yeah, I like this. This looks, the only thing this area has in common with like the original Hosidius stuff is the trees. Like that's literally it. This looks much better. I hope they retrofit the original Hosidius area and turn it into something more like this, because this looks more like old school RuneScape. Maybe it's a little bit too much tree maybe, but it's definitely a lot better.
More scenery and stuff like that. And the south coast as well is fairly much the same, so don't worry about your implings and your sand crabs, they're all pretty much all the same. So this is where the cooking store was, and this has been replaced with the cooking store's been moved, and now we have like a mine and some ruins, and then over here we have the shrunken tyke farm, which I've made sure it's still possible for at least 2 people to be doing this at once. And this is considerably smaller now, which is fantastic.
Oh.
And now I'm going to head over to the vinery. So this has changed quite considerably. As you can see, the previous assets were quite large, so I wanted to bring it more in line with what you'd expect a vineyard to look like. So we have some, there's still the same amount of spots here. There's some like scenery ones that you can't really interact with. These are probably Lord Hesidius's or something, and then the ones that you'll be using are just in the centre there, as you'd expect. And there's also some changes to the saltpeter area to the west. So here's like, I decided to bring like the saltpeter sort of closer together and add like a little area for sort of essentially the saltpeter company to just sort of operate out of. Well, you know, for want of a better, for a better name. So yeah, you got the clerk here, which is the lady you donate all your saltpeter to for the Hesidius favour. And again, these saltpeters have just sort of been made a bit more central. And the bank here has now been replaced with an old ruined castle with some lovely skeletons inside. So the entrance to the catacombs is still in the same place, so you will have to go slightly further for your banking. You'll have to go to the north and bank in the Hesidius kitchens, as the bank that was there before has now been moved over to the town, as you saw earlier. So that's just sort of like a quick, brief overview of all the changes to Hesidius. And yeah, I think it's still really starting to come together, and I'm really looking forward to sort of doing similar changes to some of the other houses as well that have a sort of flow and design problem. So yeah, that's the Hesidius rework, and it's been a great joy to be working on, and hopefully you like what you see.
Yeah, this is very good, very good. I applaud Mod West. He is doing a fantastic job here. My only like real complaint is that I think the buildings do look like too similar to each other in a way that's very, I don't want to say in your face, but it's I don't know. It looks it looks a little contrived. Like you go to Barbarian Village and yeah, all the stuff looks the same, but there's something different about that than the buildings or the houses here. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm talking up. Can you see my mouse? I don't think so. Let me enable that real quick. Capture cursor. These buildings right here, with this kind of aesthetic, they kind of stick out, not like a sore thumb, but they do kind of stick out and don't seem very, maybe different enough in structure. I don't know. I'm not the graphical artist, so I'll let him deal with that.
So,
oh dear.
This is actually already past the poll. So anyone who likes to look at that can rest assured that's actually going in. Like we say. Not poll just yet. My mistake. We're going to poll that soon. It's going to come in, well, March, like we say, hopefully, fingers crossed. I think that looks really good. I noticed you've used some new scenery we haven't actually seen before.
Oh yeah, there's been it's flashed too much. Yeah, I've made like a new wall kit and some various assets here and there, just to add some stuff to the. I'm going to struggle with this. Very fiddly.
I really liked the look of the stonework bridge in particular. I think that looked great. New buildings as well. Look nice.
The previous wall kit was a bit of a strange one because it was slightly shorter than every other wall kit we've had. So if you were to actually, if roofs were rendered when you were in there, the roofs would be clipping with your head a little bit. So I made them a little bit taller to match with the rest of the world.
Sure. And it's not just sort of aesthetics as well in terms of the map layout. It's a bit more functional, I believe.
Sure. Yeah. So there's more flow to the area, and it just feels a bit more like the rest of the mainland, which is really what I think the players have been asking for a while now.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for that. So I'm going to crack on with the questions then. So the first one coming from a player called James, who asks if we can smith our own pickaxes. Given that we can already smith woodcutting axes, this would make sense and be useful for Iron Men.
For a quest back in the day.
Yeah, I did. It was like one of the dwarf quests, I think.
I don't know why we ever cared to look behind quests.
Don't know why it wasn't off to begin with.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
Any particular reason we don't? I can't remember. Well, I don't know of a reason.
I don't believe RS Classic had the whole range of pickaxes to begin with.
How would we feel about offering this or doing this?
The other way people get it is through the shop in, I guess, yeah, the Dwarven area, or they're just getting it from a monster, which I mean, there's no reason not to, I guess.
That's with a little incomplete, it not being possible.
In terms of it devaluing existing content, buying a rune pickaxe from is probably still going to be easier than getting the levels to smith one oneself. So even if it is something that iron players would benefit from, I don't think it's an incredibly huge help for most of them unless they happen to have that smithing level and mining level.
And if they can get that far without using a pickaxe, that'd be quite impressive.
I imagine we probably put the levels at like the current existing thing, but just the same level-ish about as wood pickaxes.
Yeah, makes sense.
So to get a rune axe, you're probably in like 80 something smithing. You'd be very surprised if you didn't have 80 odd smithing, but no rune axe.
Yeah, that'd be impressive.
Okay, all right, so we'll be open to that. Question from The Wild is, can you add a...
I just realized that I had my microphone muted for a few seconds there when Ash was talking. What I said was basically, he makes a really good point that I don't know what we don't know, well, I don't know especially what the Iron Man meta is, but it's very likely that being able to smith your pickaxe would very much not matter in the grand scheme of things for the Iron Man meta.
A Shadian soldier that tells you how many Lizardman shamans you've killed in the Lizardman temple.
What's the suggestion?
Soldier that okay, all right, so we'll be open to that. Question from The Wild is, can you add a Shadian soldier that tells you how many Lizardman shamans you've killed in the Lizardman temple?
That's
I don't
what
care.
in the Lizardman cave, right? It's not in the temple.
Yes.
I think the counter that they used to have used to count all lizard men, not specifically the shamans, unless somebody's added one that just does the shamans since then I didn't know about, but I don't think they have.
No.
Yeah. I know there is an NPC in the temple already, the
Yeah.
infiltrator, who will stop you if you don't have enough favour. Maybe we could have him tell you what your kill count is.
Oh, on that subject, in tomorrow's update, he's going to actually stop turning up and shouting at you if you try to cast magical use chin chompers in the chambers of Xeric because he's not there. Sorry about that one, we're going to get that fixed.
Okay. Well, I'll give that one a hard maybe then. I don't see any reason not to do it. If there's enough demand, enough people wanting to know how long it's been before they've gotten their Warhammer, fine.
Of course, we won't be able to backtrack all your other previous kills.
They're generally used to that, and I've not so far seen them have too much trouble with that. I think they're mostly happy to get a counter anyway.
Sounds good.
Great. I have a question from Aiza, whoever that is, who wants to know if we can get a better idea of the anticipated XP rates of the skills used against Zalcano. So for anyone who doesn't know, Zalcano is the name of the skilling boss that's going to be introduced with Prif after Song of the Elves. And I think the skills involved in taking it down are runecrafting, mining, and smithing, I believe, is the design. I'll answer this one on Ed's behalf, which is it's not meant to be a training method. Don't expect high XP rates. We've said before they'll be minimal. I don't think we have an exact figure yet expected, but we're talking like only a couple K XP per hour for these things.
It's more about the rewards. Like you don't go to bosses to train, so you go
That's
to
good,
rewards.
very good.
That's the sort of thing we're trying to emulate.
Think of it as like going to Bandos. You don't go to Bandos to train your strength level. Obviously, you're getting XP, but you don't go there for that reason.
Okay, there's a few comments mentioning Wintertodd, and that's the sort of thing we want to learn from, because that sort of removes the necessity for ever really doing any sort of maple or below sort of training. So.
This
It's
is
also
going to be.
quite strong.
Oh, I just missed what Aiza said in chat.
scroll up.
There's something more to that question. See if we can chase what he said. There was more to the question. Is it comparable to Wintertodd, minimal or less than that?
So minimal would be the answer.
Yeah, expect to be a lot more minimal. You won't be getting 250 XP an hour there.
Yeah.
Bless the mods.
Yeah, no, it really is sort of reward centric. It's going to be resources and rewards and tangible assets rather than XP is the focus. Breakfast asks, are there plans to complete some of the older quest lines? In particular, Rise of the Red Axe is left on a massive cliffhanger, and it'd be a shame not to wrap that up.
Well, just us. The mornings, the Elf series had been left incomplete and is now being completed. I see no reason why we couldn't do something similar with the other ones. Admittedly, there's tended to be more interest in the desert quests and the big gap in the map that is Menethos. Possibly it's more visible than the Keldgrim stories, but it would be nice to do something with it. And then there's a matter of Zanuck.
Yes.
I don't know, I like the Dwarf series.
In the case of Zanuck, if we did give them the Land of the Goblins, because that was nearly complete in development in August 2007, so we could take what's in the archive, complete it, fix the known bugs from its original launch, and give it back to you. I just don't remember it being all that great, because it led to an amazing cliffhanger where Zanuck got into a box and the lid shut, and that was the end of that. Of course, not everyone likes Zanuck, so maybe that would do.
That's the new ending. That's it.
Rest in peace in a box.
Cool. Does anyone have a favourite quest line in particular that they would prefer to be the first one we wrap
Would you
up
like to talk
after?
about Desert Treasure again? Because you've talked about it before.
Yeah, I talked about that a few years ago, but I sort of lost the sort of idea with that. I think Ed's got some better ideas, so I'm happy to hear what he's going to...
Well, certainly some of the dungeons that you pitched for it, we then used for Dragon Slayer 2.
that was the sort of thing that sort of was a bit wrong with the Desert Treasure sequel, because it wasn't so much a sequel rather than a sort of an homage to it, so it had the sort of similar sort of layout where you went to 4 different places and fought some bosses.
It's unlikely to be called Desert Treasure 2, by the way, because the story doesn't really lend itself to that, right?
Sure, yeah.
I think in terms of the first story I'm going to finish is going to be Song of the Elves, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Assuming it passes its Paul. But that'll be a full, complete storyline from Plague Sea all the way through.
Paul for that should be coming fairly soon once Qualmonth is out of the way.
For me personally, I'm really keen on the
I really hope people vote down this quest until poll results are hidden. That'd be the best thing ever.
sea slug line, and would be happy to see that wrapped up soon, maybe next even. But
To be fair, my favourite was the Monkey Madness line.
Yep.
I think we're essentially done with that. Although we didn't quite confirm whether Gluff was dead. He just cut away. But
Well, Morningstar,
essentially we finished that storyline.
Morningstar in the chat was asking about one big favour.
Yeah, that's come up a few times. And
Yeah.
I only want to continue.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Funny for us, maybe not so funny for them.
Well, titles are endless, like Return of the Favour, for a few favours more, things like that.
Yeah.
I'll make a mini quest, which is another small favour, and it's actually just, can you go outside and get this, please? Thanks.
Ellie Workshop 3.
Ellie?
Elemental.
Oh, that kind of Ellie.
They finished the sort of the body
Divine
blind
Workshop.
outfit.
well, I guess there isn't going to be a divine workshop. But, anyway,
Not anymore.
I'll move on to a question from Mario, who asks if we would consider adding distractions and diversions to old school.
What?
Don't we? I mean, technically,
Actually, the whole game is supposed to be a distraction and diversion. I thought that was the point of playing \S or / whatever. I guess my reaction was more in like a visceral response to just, it being associated with RS3, because I've already been triggered by the RS3 imagery in the beginning of the stream. So I don't know enough about distractions and diversions in order to come up with to have a informed opinion about it. Let's see if they explain it more.
Clue Scroll is a distraction
Yeah.
version, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Which ones were they wanting in particular?
It was just an open question. I'm seeing a lot of no in chat, and I kind of anticipated this, maybe because it...
I think the problem is they have this sort of connotation where they think distraction and diversion is purely penguin hide and seek, and I don't think they want penguin
I
hide.
think the biggest distinction is the daily nature, the weekly nature of what a lot of distractions and diversions are known for, while clue scrolls, to all the definitions of distraction and diversion, that's exactly what they are.
We already have a skill that can be trained through Dailyscape very efficiently. We don't need something else to add to more Dailyscape.
But they are presented in a fashion that it allows you to mix up your gameplay, but you don't feel forced to go and do it. So I believe there is a place, it's more like a random event, to be honest, where, for an example, there was one in RuneScape, I'm not sure how popular it is, but it's called The Pit. So when you do your agility training, every now and then, randomly while you're training agility by the conventional training method for agility, you will get called over to take part in this little extra game and get some nice XP. And it breaks up your agility training, gives you something slightly interesting to look forward to.
That was
But it's presented in a way that doesn't force you to do it.
The Gorilla Mask, correct?
Yeah.
That was cool. I like that.
Yeah, I really like that one.
I mean, we also have implings. Technically, they're sort of distractions and diversions. If you walk past an impling, you're going to be, I'm going to go grab that. I mean, it's a very small distraction, but it's still a very well executed distraction and diversion. So more things like that.
In all honesty, I'm not just talking about the pit itself, by the way. I'm talking about more the method of how we deliver a D&D, regardless of whether you like the pit itself.
Ooh, evil trees as well. I like those. Those
Yes.
are well done.
Yeah.
I liked the. I thought the shooting stars were good. That's personally because I'm not big into mining, but it was nice if you're doing a thing and then you run across that. Okay, some nice XP.
Yeah, those were cool.
I will admit, evil trees were cool. I did those when I was a RuneScape 2 player. I thought those were fun.
With the evil tree, if you were walking almost anywhere, you'd be like the trippy thing that made the roots grab you.
Yeah.
And then you feel, I've got to do this, otherwise I'm missing out. So you have to run there as fast as possible, but it's still fairly healthy.
Although it was a bit scary when I was young, just walking around and there's like massive vine thing coming at you.
It depends on the content, whether it's achievable to do that sort of thing. It's hard to do. It's hard to think of something that could work across the whole mining skill when you're actually mining a rock. What could happen that would...
Well, that was the sort of the shooting stars.
The shooting stars thing, but...
They dropped in such obscure places that no one was ever
They
really
took
trained.
you away from mining places a fair bit, because you probably weren't mining in the place where it was going to turn up.
Yeah.
And while you could use your POH to find out where it was going to be, that's really not the same as briefly having a distraction from your mining.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas if mining the rock, occasionally you found well, you found something at the rock, then that's something that breaks up your mining if you were responding to that. I don't mean a smoking rock.
What about when you're mining? Occasionally you dig a hole falls through, you can click in there, you enter a little cavern, and there's some special thing to mine in there. Get some extra rewards or something. Just to mix it up a little bit.
Mining sinkhole.
So the next question from Tig is there a chance of damage at the Winter Todd being rescaled so it doesn't punish higher leveled players?
It is kind of dumb how you get more heavily penalized for having your account further progressed. But Winter Todd's dumb, so I don't really have an opinion.
Well, I was about to say, there isn't anyone in the team who's using a level 10, a level 10 HP account, so that shouldn't be controversial.
We were discussing this a while ago, didn't we? I think the solution we sort of came up with is adding a warmth meter, and that essentially more acts as your life points, hit points. Oops. Now everyone's going to jump on me for saying life points instead of hit points.
My personal feel is that Winter Todd's already very powerful, and I wouldn't necessarily want to make it easier or better, even if the scaling is a bit odd in the way it works.
So I agree with Gambit here. What we should do is we should make it harder for lower level players. I think that's the correct answer.
I think it's already very strong. I wouldn't necessarily nerf it, but I wouldn't necessarily look to buff it either. That's where I'm at on Winter Todd.
Yeah.
The other option is to have a sort of a food item that would only work in Winter Todd that would scale based on your health as well. But
that's the thing. It's not about buffing or nerfing it. It's that at the moment, if you are low level HP, you're kind of immune, and if you've trained your combat by choosing not to restrict yourself, then you get hit a lot, and
it may not be about buffing or nerfing, but it is a still very relevant factor.
Makes the Winter Todd worse for you. So changing the formula so that either everyone's immune, I know it comes across as a buff, but is arguably something that's already there, just only for low-level people, or introducing something so that everybody has to deal with damage in some way.
Yes.
It really does seem preferable.
It would also be nice to mix up the meta for hardcore Iron Men as well, because currently most hardcore Iron Men are like 10 HP, 99 fire making, and then they die, and then they're just another dead hardcore with 99 fire making. Which is a bit of a shame.
Obviously, no one's going to vote for a nerf to Winter Todd, because that's not how democracy works.
Yeah, I mean, it is the immediate go-to for, well, a fresh Iron Man, isn't it?
A lot of hardcores die at Winter Todd. A serious amount.
But at the same time, I think majority of the slots on the front page are people 200 mil, so it's because a lot of them do it.
Yeah, straight up.
Lunch Guy asks, well, they say the Beekeeper random event was disabled for mobile users a while ago. It gives a weak reward compared to the effort required, so could it be disabled for desktop users as well?
No,
just to make it a little more likely that...
like, if you're on mobile, like, it makes sense on mobile because mobile limitations, but just don't do the event.
Players get a useful random event like the Genie or Dr. Jekyll. What's our stance on the Beekeeper event?
I would be rather glad if we get a female version of its outfit so that we could give that as a reward. And the version of the Beekeeper event in RS3 from about 2009 onwards was a lot more solvable for humans than the any version Old School's ever had. So that would be an alternative way to go if players wanted the outfit.
Yeah, I'd be up for making an adjusted female variant.
Nice.
Given the the shape of the Beekeeper outfit, frankly, you can't easily tell whether it's a male or female.
Yeah. No, I actually did it for the first time the other day. I tend to just dismiss, but I thought I'd give it a go.
Now you know why.
And now I know. Yeah, now I know exactly why.
Can you not just dismiss every random that isn't the Genie or the exam?
I tend to do Leo's one because I find that fun. Actually, sorting out the coffins.
What on earth is wrong with you?
Hobbies, dare I ask.
To be fair, that's the one that you do the most because it's got all the emotes as well as the outfit.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of rewards from that one.
Maze is pretty good because of the rewards.
Oh, yeah.
I'd still like to do the thing where we remove the ops on the fake walls.
I think we did that.
Did we do it?
Yeah, because it was literally impossible for mobile to actually...
I'd like to do it on desktop as well. I've seen no reason for it to exist at this point.
I remember there was someone on Reddit at the time who was stuck in the maze, so just indefinitely. So at the time,
One-star review.
I hope they got out. Some say they're still trying to solve the maze. Jimmy wants us to increase the speed of the bone grinder at the Ectofuntus. They say that the wilderness altar has made every other prayer training method obsolete.
That one has the risk there, doesn't it? And if we were to make the Ectofuntus even easier, then it would sort of devalue your personal gilded altars, which I'm not really a fan of.
Well, so many issues in one question. I haven't done the wilderness method, but apparently it's viable enough to be used in competitive skilling competitions, you can like pay for defense, or you can take Dean's Bulwark. I've seen methods, solo players who use Dean's Bulwark to, you know, make it a lot less riskier to do the method. I'm not sure what Mod West is saying when he's going on about it devalues your gilded altar, when Mod Gam, well, I guess I do understand what he is saying, because the Ectofungus would be safe, and the safest thing to do is the gilded altar in your house. But the wilderness altar, it's apparently safe enough to be considered like the go-to. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure statistically speaking what players do, like both regular players and efficient players, or quote-unquote efficient players. The thing is with the wilderness altar is that, or prayer in general, is that it's so expensive. Like, people say GP is 0 time, GP is lossless. Well, people say GP 0 time, and this is where the theoretical comes into question, because technically, yes, GP is not. It's not. GP doesn't. How do I phrase this? GP isn't 0 time. GP is lossless. And because GP is lossless and not 0 time, the cost of training a skill is still very relevant. Not just for convenience purposes, but even practically speaking. Like, the wilderness, like, prayer is just so expensive to train, like, optimally, or at the most optimal, level. No, how do I phrase that? Prayer is just so expensive to train that previously people wouldn't go beyond a, it's so hard to describe. I'm trying to phrase this in a way so someone who knows nothing about the prayer meta would understand what I'm saying. I'm not even sure what the fastest or the best bones are to use at the prayer altar. Let me research real quick. I'm going to pause the video, and then I will start recording again once I find out what I need to find out. Be right back. Alright, so what people use is the Superior Dragon Bones. I'm not sure what people used before the Wilderness Altar was in place, but because Superior Dragon Bones do cost so much money, it is very relevant how much money the altar, using the Wilderness Altar saves you. And the intention of the Wilderness Altar was to simply make it less costly to train prayer, to save for profit purposes. But it quickly became, or it actually became about XP purposes, because prayer just costs so much money that it's extremely hard to justify not doing it if you're an efficient, quote-unquote, efficient player. So I think I'm not, in regards to the suggestion that this person's asking, I don't know. Less POH sounds good to me, but then again, if it offers even a better XP rate than what the POH altar would do, then that's another consideration. But regardless, I think the problem is ultimately the Wilderness Altar. And I think the Wilderness Altar should be nerfed in some way. I'm not sure how, but I don't believe the Wilderness Altar should be the go-to place to train prayer for efficiency-minded skillers, because it suffers the same problems that Black Chinchampa's does, which is like skilling is about, or one of the main things about skilling is the consistency of it and pretty much the consistency of it, being able to achieve the maximum amount of rate with like the least amount of RNG. So, you know, like, of course there's like give or take some RNG, but with the Wilderness, the threat of having someone disrupt your training is very antithetical to the appeal of skilling. So if it were just money, that'd be fine, I wouldn't care. But because prayer just costs so much money, and that it is very much an efficiency thing, not simply a profitable thing, to train your prayer in the wilderness, I think the wilderness altar should be nerfed before buffing some other method in order to make it be able to compete with the wilderness altar method.
It has not made other prayer training methods obsolete either.
Yeah.
They are all widely done. Gilded Altar is widely trained on. And so Heads is widely.
Yeah.
I mean, I just did that for 99 prayer myself. But obviously the one that isn't used very much is Ecto. We currently have the feature of Robin from the Diaries who does them automatically for you. I don't think that's very widely used. Perhaps we could look at improving that, and then you don't even need to use a bone grinder.
Yeah, he doesn't do many, and it's sort of a daily which you don't really get much out of, so I don't think many people do at all.
I mean, I use the Ectofuntus a lot, but I am an Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I prefer that over using Gilded Altar.
Yeah, I don't think people go to the Ectofuntus for XP. I think they go more because it's a lot cheaper, and I mean, you do get some like bone crushing.
Iron Men do, because they want to maximise what they get out of their bones.
I don't have to say that, by the way, because the chat's doing it for me. It's fantastic.
Okay, so Ho Vegeta asks if we can rebalance. I haven't just fallen into a trap there, have I?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Wait, what was that?
No?
again?
Ho Vegeta? I think that's safe. I'm all right.
Not sure what a hove edge is.
Asks if we can rebalance maces, short swords, battle axes, and warhammers to make them more viable.
I don't think battle axes need changing, but I would like to look at short swords and... Wait, was the short swords on there?
Yeah, short swords.
Yeah, short swords and maces do not have really any role.
I have no opinion.
I think it's just difficult, though, to give them a niche. There's always going to be a best one-handed weapon at that level.
Back in the day, maces were given a +1 prayer,
Yeah.
just to give them something distinct and unique use. As we know from the next decade, it didn't achieve that, but maybe a bigger one would have.
It'd be nice if there was a closer balance between Slash, Steph, and Crush's best in slots. I'm fine with obviously Crush being slower and whatnot if we really want it to be, but
Yeah, there's just such a big difference between that speed. It just makes the difference.
yeah, the other problem with slower weapons is overhitting. It lowers your DPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the battle axes are one higher hit than scimitars, but obviously the one tick slow, so you're never going to want to use it.
Okay, so maybe, but then balancing is tricky, is our...
And it's also a big change to the sort of old school vibe, and
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people will be naysayers for that reason.
I think whatever we change, the scimitar will remain the standard best in slot.
If you can make something better than the scimitar, that would be even more interesting.
The same player has asked if we would consider making fletching free-to-play. I think we've talked about this idea before, allowing them to make the first sort of few bows up to maybe...
I don't think so. I wouldn't. Maybe they have a good argument for it, but the only reason I have for opposing it is because I'll say it again, I've said it before, one of the chief appeals of free-to-play is that it is not frequently updated.
Willow also.
I'd be interested in knowing how players even feel about the idea of a skill becoming free to play after all these years of it not being.
Yeah, that's like a strong...
And if so, why fletching?
Why fletch?
I mean, I presume they want the bows in this particular case, but mostly you train fletching by making a whole load of bows that you then out for the money.
Yeah.
This is not the best gameplay we have.
I mean, it would sort of finish that sort of
Yeah.
triangle, because obviously you can make runes and you can make swords and stuff.
Pluto said give them agility. See what the chat says about that one.
That probably would be a more useful one, but still.
Well, we were saying, apparently on a recent live stream, we talked about how run energy was a problem in the free-to-play game.
Yeah.
What is the difference, like, agility has on energy?
It's quite a substantial difference. It doesn't impact how fast it drains, it impacts how fast it recovers.
Okay.
I think it goes from something like 1 every 12 ticks at level 1 to something like 1 in every 4 at 99. Something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. It is listed on the wiki page.
Does it scale evenly from 1 to 99?
I believe
I
so.
do remember a myth saying it goes up, well, I remember being told it goes up every 6 levels, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, there's a divide by 6 factor, so...
With that in mind, if we were to consider something like this, could we say up to level 30 or so, would make maybe free-to-play a little bit less...
Potentially, but it's also likely that... you can go both ways. I mean, free-to-play is very limited on training methods. Much like rune crafting.
Yeah.
You can do 99 rune crafting, but you don't really want to.
Now that I think about
Remind
it,
runes.
can you even train agility in a free-to-play area? Because there's no...
Not at level 1.
Yeah.
A course would have to be added.
Yeah.
That ain't exactly hard, of course, but they can't access the known one.
Yeah.
And the lowest level course in the free-to-play area is the level 10 trainer rooftop,
Yeah.
which obviously is the starting point for them.
Unless they want a genie lamp all the way.
Yeah, I imagine they don't want a genie lamp like some people.
It's in Lumbridge.
So, I mean, how do people actually feel about the idea of like a skill like agility being free to play?
Would they be able to straw poll? Hello.
Yeah, so Mod
With agility, and on the one hand, I stand by my argument, but on the other hand, it's like, you know, it would be a quality of life update to free-to-play that they would have to earn in order to enjoy the benefits of. And the benefit being extremely beneficial because free-to-plays are, you know, it's very, it is very much a problem in free-to-play that running is, or for new players at least, that join the game, that running is so restricted. And with agility, it'd be like, it isn't just a free way of buffing free-to-play. You actually have to train agility, you have to earn those levels. So, I would want to see what, like, hardcore free-to-players think about the idea.
Lenny, who's kindly doing chat for us today, apologies for not giving him the credit for that earlier.
And this comes into the discussion about how run energy is quite a problem in free-to-play as well. That you guys know how frustrating it is when you walk anywhere. I brought it up in the last Q&A. This is why you buy stamina potions, and you do that even at 70 agility. Imagine being limited to 1. And so we got to think about this in terms of also how many new players we got coming in from mobile as well, who are getting frustrated by this, and it's an annoying part of the game. So.
And navigation in general in free-to-play is considerably lacking compared to pay-to-play.
Yeah, so this is about trying to alleviate some of these problems without stepping over all the problems that we don't want to ruin stamina potions and their place in the game, etc.
Plus, it wouldn't even be giving them something that members haven't had to struggle through, because if it were done, if their transport difficulties were addressed in this way, they'd have to grind just like you did, only without access to perhaps the same courses. So you might still be, I think you'd still be winning from your membership.
Okay, so
Also, if we did this because, like, in terms of you're getting a benefit versus not getting a benefit, we do sort of, if we felt we were giving too much to free play, people wouldn't be signing up for a membership. And we're doing this, obviously, in the lens of we want the game to succeed and grow. We wouldn't do it if we didn't think it would benefit membership at the end of the day.
And ultimately, we don't want to push something on the game that you guys aren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
But we'd be interested to see what you make of this, because there were a lot more, well, there was a lot more yes in the chat than there was for fletching, anyway.
Is that last, like, I don't know what to call it, a Twitch, what do you call it? Not emojis, are they? What do they called?
it's Boaty.
Is it Boaty? No, the golden one, the golden player.
Oh,
Is that
why though?
Is that an user thing? Because if that's why, that's hilarious. It's a bit like it. Can't tell. Anyway.
Interesting.
All right, I'm aware that we're running out.
It is why though.
Yeah, it is why though.
It's incredible, I love it.
I'm aware that we're running out of time pretty quick, so I'm going to blast through some chat questions. First one being, can we get a toggle to untrim skill capes? This is going to get downvoted to oblivion. I saw a suggestion, I'll add to it or amend it, which was could we have the option to just untrim the first skill cape that we receive, so that it still has the, this is the first cape I got.
Obviously no to untrim, but I do like I'm kind of impartial about being able to untrim the first one you got. I'm not even sure if they'd be able to keep track of that if they did potentially offer that, but I'm kind of impartial.
We'd almost certainly have done that if we had records of which was the first cape you received.
Right.
Okay, legitimate question then, because obviously we can't track your first 99. We wouldn't be able to do it retroactively for everyone who already has them, and that's most of you, I imagine, who've got 99. Should we start tracking it and doing it for future people?
I don't think that'll pass a poll, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't think it would either. It'd be a good thing, I think,
Yeah.
but
Not based on that.
Is there a way to currently keep your untrimmed cape by dropping it?
yeah.
Yeah, it was like a hacky way by like going to a free-to-play world, dropping it, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's surprisingly close.
So the results are in on the straw poll we did. We asked, would you like to see agility made free to play? We just went for a yes, no, and 68% of you have said yes, with 32% of you saying no.
And if we were to offer it with the kind of restrictions that the chat was talking about, like capping at level 30, or the course not being as good as one's members can get to, which I think we do anyway, players might feel a bit more comfortable with the change even than they were able to see from that poll.
Oh, maybe that's something we should strongly consider then.
Interesting.
So yeah, on the topic of skill capes, yeah, you can keep them through, like Mod Bruno says, a kind of hacky way. But that's all there is for the time being.
I mean, it would be a shame for people with the 99 untrimmed slay capes. So always quite impressive. And what are the other impressive ones? I guess HP is sort of impressive.
No, because most people, if they do Slayer all the way through, they end up getting 99 HP first.
Oh right, oh of course.
That's what I did at least. So.
I'll move on to the next question then. We have one specifically for Mod Bruno, which is, are there any updates on your comp list?
Yeah, I've still been having a look at it. There's no big updates. It's sort of still just there. I might try and pitch something to you guys on a Q&A and give it a full look on the Q&A so you guys can like talk about it, so it gets a little bit more reception. I did make a tweet about it in like August, but it's been quite a while, so some people might have forgot about it.
We have a question which is, can some purpose be added to the Legends Guild dungeon?
Oh, I'd like that.
What's down there at the minute?
Shadow Warriors and Pit Scorpions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thought long around back in the day. How can this is a Legend Guild's top end quest,
Is there
and
anything-
that's what they added?
Is there anything special about the Shadow Warriors?
Well, it was reputed that they had a really good chance at the gem table and thus the really rare tables in RS Classic, and that was probably true at the time. Since then, Goraks are a thing, so not so much. And I think Pit Scorpions were meant to be a really good combat training space, but they're not. So no,
Remove Nightmare Zone
That will
above this
sort of
area.
Encourage people killing shadow creatures, and that sort of ties into the Desert Bridge I think we spoke about earlier.
Okay.
I mean, that might go away into helping that as well.
Yeah, I think their only good use is when you have a Scorpion pass from like Turiel, so you just go in there, cannon them all because they're all low HP and quick.
So you're on Turiel, but you're.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the
I suppose it's because you Turieled to get rid of a task you did.
Yeah, that's the method.
generally got quite low counts though. So it's
Yeah, it's not very useful at all.
So did the players say what they wanted in there, or just something?
Just, yeah, could something be done with it? I guess the answer is yes, we would like to.
Black Graceful.
Right, so I'm going to call it there. I notice we're at 6, so I think that brings us about to the end of the stream. Just a couple of reminders. It's !new mod to welcome Mod Acorn, who's on Jagex Acorn on Twitter. So you can follow her and see what she gets up to. !birthday for details about the birthday stream. It's the old school 6th birthday, and we'll be streaming for 2 hours on Friday to talk all about it. And I guess that about wraps things up for us. So I'd like to thank you all very much for watching, and for everyone joining me here on the sofa this week, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Alright, so I guess review of the stream. It was a pretty average stream. I'm a little surprised that he didn't address the drama for vetoing a past poll result, which I approve of, by the way, completely. I think if Aiza were still a community manager, that'd be one of the first things you want to get out of the way. It's going to be interesting now that 2/3 of the community management team has been ushered out. We are now in the era of Gambit, Sween, and Acorn. So, I think it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. I was reading some comments on the video earlier to see if they had made anything, or they talked about any important topic, and it didn't really seem like they did based on the comments. But some people aren't too happy with Mod Gambit hosting the Q&A. And on the one hand, you do have to commend him for hosting the Q&A. I do think it makes sense that a community manager does host a Q&A the most frequently. But on the other hand, I think I've said this before, he's a little more passive. I wish he was a little more active. I still stand by that. I think if the host of the Q&A were more of an assertive or not as passive host, it would make the Q&As more interesting. Some people have also commented that his knowledge of the game does seem relatively limited, or at least in the sense that whenever a question's asked, he doesn't try to answer it himself usually, or he prefers to divert the questions to the other mods, which I understand the host it may not be incumbent upon the host to answer the question first, but maybe I'm fine with Mod Gambit being the host. It's not like I don't find him to be like the ideal host. Maybe it'd be worth it for, if he's going to host the Q&As, maybe it'd be worth it for JX to pay for him to take some kind of course to improve. Excuse me. I don't know. But he does a serviceable job and I appreciate it. I would have to say the mod of the week would be Mod West. I crown Mod West the mod of the week. It may be unfair, but obviously his work on Zaya, I'd give a solid 8 out of 10, maybe even a 9 out of 10. I am very impressed with his work. He's doing, like, I say it's unfair because he's actually, he has graphical stuff to show. And it is an issue that I think is really important, which is going back to the problematic existing content and improving upon it. So I'm very glad to see that. I think that is all I have to say. I hope you all enjoyed this Q&A, and I hope to see you next video. Have a great rest of your day.